Today you're going to find out why 10.2 is the best patch of Dragonflight and what has led up to this moment. We're going to look at everything that 10.2 has to offer, like the raid, Mythic Plus, dungeon pool, class balance, the outdoor world, story.
Not class balance.
No.
But yeah, we're going to check out everything that made the patch so much better and the best patch in Dragonflight so far. So let's actually kick it off with class balance, because this is probably the most controversial topic and things that I constantly see everybody kind of arguing with each other. And there's a couple of disclaimers that we need to make. The class balance is okay in the sense that everybody can do all the content. Everybody's doing like keys way higher than before. And if you really look, you can look at, you know, sub creation or Warcraft logs. The majority of the specs populate the higher levels of tier.
That's true. Each spec you want to play, you can play it to a semi-competitive level. That's no problem. If you're looking to push like super high, like, you know, well, it's too late to go for like top 100 mythic raid, okay? But if you want to go for like plus 27s, 28s, then sure, you have to look at the god comps, which is an unfortunate truth about the meta.
That's actually it. There's no god comp anymore, because that has to be said. As opposed to, and this is why class balance is better than last patch, because there's not just like the 5 specs that are just clearing everything.
Well, you will see augmentation evokers.
There's actually no. Actually, augmentation is starting to drop off more and more with each coming month, and we see more and more specs clearing 30s and 31s. More tanks, more healers, more DPSers. So that's actually way better than before.
It's a good thing, and it also like kind of links into the actual class designs and spec designs themselves. I think like after the Red Paladin rework, we started to get more and more, you know, reworks for different specs, you know, with the rogues that we're looking at. We had like some mini reworks to like priest as well. Obviously there's still a lot more to be desired, you know, survival, frost decay. We can give a couple of examples, but the path they're on is great. And leading up to 10.2, we've seen a lot of improvements to the specs. Mages as well got reworks. Demon Hunter, now they are coming back.
Yeah, every single class that has been touched, it's a much better class. It feels good. You actually feel like the class. Talking about mages, you actually feel like a mage with everything that you do outside of actually playing the specific spec. You have AoE shields.
He means arcane.
Yeah, because I only play arcane. But all of the cool things that I like about mage don't really have anything to do with arcane. It's
Listen,
just
I'm actually happy I can now use my glacial spike in any content as a frost mage, including Mythic Plus, which is really one of my favorite things that was ever invented for frost mages. And
that's a cool thing, because for me, I also love glacial spike, and I also love freezing rain and blizzard frozen orb playstyles.
Yes.
But that was ever since BFA, that has never really been a meta spec for frost mage, but now you have it.
It's again really positive that a lot of this has happened in 10.2, and if not for anything, it gives us hopium, I guess, for the future, you know, going forward to season 4. We'll get to that in a second. But you know, not everybody jumps right into like class design and, you know, meta stuff and all of that balancing and all that.
10.2 did come with like one of the most iconic WoW zones ever.
Yes, I mean, how many people were waiting and asking for the Emerald Dream?
Ever since probably Alpha, if not. We knew Emerald Dream was actually in the game files.
It was planned
back in the day.
Yeah, it was planned in vanilla for sure, and for some reason they never got put out over there. Well, I have to say the truth about this. It's not the whole zone. I mean, some people
we're like in a part of it.
A part of the Emerald Dream, and it's only to be expected because it is like a whole new like plane of existence. You know, you cannot really explore it without having like a brand new Azeroth, basically, right?
Yeah,
it's everything.
Exactly.
It's a kind of a reflection of it. But what they did with it, I feel they kind of nailed it. Like with the aesthetics, the open world, you know, the druidy vibe. Because to be fair, I've never played like a druid in Legion, so I didn't really know the aesthetics of, you know, the Emerald Dream and stuff. But once I got into it, initially it felt like, man, but this is kind of like blending stuff. But then started discovering it and looking at everything.
It has like really unique details that you don't really see, and this is something that I haven't done in a long time, where they take time to actually work on the little things, the NPCs, the way that they design some of the creatures, not the owlbears, but the way that they have the dialogues, the way that they have the little zones and the little huts, the night elf huts. and the burrow dens for the druids. If you've played, I don't know how much they, I don't know how much they put this into WoW, but in Warcraft 3, that's how you get the druids out, right? So that was like really niche.
It was very
nice
reminiscent of the Warcraft feel a lot of us had missing for quite a while, and it all stems back indeed from Warcraft 3, especially if you like went through the Night Elf campaign. You can definitely see a lot of elements put there, and it's clear that this was made out of love for Warcraft. Granted, there's still a lot more to be done in terms of like the overall feel of the game, but this is not the video for it.
In terms of Dragonflight, this is really good. And even with outdoor, and I think a good example is the outdoor content that you actually do, because it's not necessarily anything new, but it's all of it done better. We have the events, we've had Feast and Dragonbane Keep and Wild Hunts, and although Wild Hunts are probably the better ones, the other ones felt really awkward to join in halfway, or sometimes you weren't really sure when does the feast come up, but the Spirit Blooms or the whatever the hourly event, you always know it's Super on Blooms. The hour Super Blooms. And you can always join in halfway. It moves around the map, you can always follow it and just like, oh my god, I'm like 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, and you always get it. It's such a stress-free type of event, and I can just do it once a week and I'm super fine with it.
And the story is here, like once the patch hit, like us and all of our like friends we play with and our little crew over there, we were like kind of like at some point we all woke up and said, man, we're doing this on a daily basis without feeling tired or
that's what
forced
they
to
did
do it. And yeah, it felt right, and I think it gave a lot more purpose than previous events, right? So even now, if you go there and you get like the 2 weekly quests and stuff and do your Super Blooms and stuff, you still get rep, you still get the weekly reward and stuff, you still get splinters, I believe, for crafting. So it still has purpose, especially for alts, right? And it was much more impactful for us for, starting with our mains. This is why, like, in terms of like the Zone, Emerald Dream, and the outdoor content, not to mention the world quest, not that many, but it felt right.
All of it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. Coming from Shadowlands, obviously the syndrome is still there, the symptoms are still there. It doesn't feel like, oh my god, I need to do all of this, and I don't like these 5 things out of the 6. But nothing's like that now.
They nailed it, like they nailed a really good sweet spot in terms of like having you feel you have to do something because you need that feel in some doses, okay?
Otherwise things won't matter anymore.
Yeah, if everything is like super random and you do whatever you want, it's not the same feeling. You need that purpose, that objective moving forward to. And for some people, that could be just kicking it off with their raid team or whatever. And we have to talk about the raid because I feel this is the best raid of Dragonflight, Amir Drasil.
For sure.
We're biased, of course, because we both love open world, open space raids and stuff, like places you have to move. And I feel like whenever they do an open space raid, you get a much more better grasp and feel on everything that's happening in the raid, as opposed to like claustrophobic
That's
stuff.
exactly it. For all its faults, Shadowlands had the best raid in Sepulchre, which was open and big and all over the place.
And it was, you remember, we felt better raiding over there. It wasn't like, because we were going, not Sepulchre, it was a Sepulchre, yeah, it was Sepulchre. We were going from the, from Sanctum. Oh my god, that was so depressing.
It's such a good analogy because Sanctum is basically Aberrus. It's tight, it's dark, it has these heavy colors and heavy mechanics and atmosphere, and you go into the open world stuff. And to give credit where credit is due, Vault of the Incarnates wasn't necessarily bad, and some of the bosses are probably better than some of the bosses in the
always gonna have this discussion,
but it had big rooms, so it was better. But going from Aberrus to Amir Drasil is just, oh my god, it's like opening up the window in the morning, getting that breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
it's plus how it feels.
Plus the bosses, like we were testing them on the PTR, and we kind of like got to the same conclusion after they went live. The majority of the bosses are really, really cool. Like in terms of like, okay, you can talk about how they look and the mechanics, and sure, there's issue with like some mechanics not being visible because you put orange fire on orange ground, and it's, we know all about that. But taking it like a step back and look at from it like on a bird's eye view, the look of it, the spacing, the visuals, how the bosses like talk and interact and stuff, it's all, I feel, the most immersive, I don't know, I think like the last immersive raid we've been through, I think it was in BFA.
Battle for the Zara Lore.
Battle for the Zara was
always one of my favorites.
Nashitar was also great. But yeah, so
you actually get invested into the story, into the progression from, the the green trees to the fiery trees and all of that stuff.
And
you know what's a cool thing that also kind of bakes into this whole 10.2 is a lot less stress-free. The second boss already gives you a tier piece.
Oh yeah,
it's
big
right there.
win.
You don't have to, oh my god, I have to go through like 5 bosses to get my first tier piece.
Yeah, plus the boss skips as well. You know, you have like a little bit more freedom on, you know, going on whatever route you want, because obviously you want to have like, if you're on a raid team, you want some people getting tier for some bosses or specific items and stuff. So they kind of nailed it in all departments. Again, there's a lot of issues we can talk about, but this is not the video for it. It's just like when you look at the bosses of the raid, like you mentioned, like the second boss dropping tier, that's great. You have like AoE fights, like for everybody enjoying AoE. You have like pure single target fights as well. It's like a good balance. You didn't.
It's a good, and it's nice when they combine those in the same boss. So for instance, you can play super single target for Frog, or you can play super AoE for Frog, and you feel like it matters because obviously everybody gets to put their rotation and feels like you're actually contributing to the fight, and it matters when you do, because even like Smolderon, when they design bosses like this, I feel like those are some of the fun bosses where you have this little short windows, like the boss takes 200% extra damage. Oh my god, yes, I have my cooldowns ready, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to blast. Yeah. That feeling, you need that feeling. Not for all the bosses, but you need to have 1 or 2 bosses, and there's like Tindral and Smolderon that have this, and Tindral, come on.
Tindral, I think it's like one of the best bosses designed like since ever. Like it was, I think the last great boss design I feel was not Soul Render, Painsmith.
That was good.
That was also good, and this was kind of like on the same avenue. It felt like it's not like it has 2 phases. You know, it kind of starts off easy, but then it gets complicated in the wild. You have healer mechanics, you have DPS mechanics, you have tank mechanics. Everybody's super involved, and the setting is just great. I don't know, man. It's this one of their A+.
It's a good fight. Obviously, it's in the open world. You get the dragon ride, and they learned their lesson from the behemoth fight in Ajatar, where you were underwater. It's like we're gonna fight in a different environment. But now we just have to fly from platform to platform. They've included the dragon riding system in a neat way where you don't have to like fight on the dragon and kind of risk quirky mechanics.
Yeah, true. And not only the raid, well, we can talk about the Mythic Plus season as well, like with the dungeons rotations. I think everybody kind of agrees at this point that the dungeons overall feel easier. It's much more, I don't know, I get the feeling that
it's less stress,
there's still moments in specific dungeons, if like as always in any dungeon, if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna have a bad time.
Crest.
Oh my god. There's affixes are a different topic of discussion, but overall I feel like it's way easier to do 20s if you're interested in that and above. It's like, and that also translates into like getting a lot more, having an easier time getting gear, even with the let's say simplification of the gearing system, which I still feel it's overly complicated for no reason. But again, a different topic to be addressed. Or we did a video on the gearing system.
Sure.
We did. But overall, we have like easy dungeons, we have hard dungeons. I still feel like the Dawn of the Infinites are still like the hardest to like get into. They're not hard in the sense that okay, they're impossible. They're quite easy if you know everything.
Compared to the hard mode that we had last season, where it's leagues better. And I know that a lot of people, myself included, like the season 1 Dragonflight dungeons, like Algathar Academy. I like Not Good Offensive
of course.
But and the dungeons that we have right now, you might like them or might not, but they actually a good mix of everything that you kind of want in a Mythic Plus season, so you don't feel bored. Every dungeon is different from the other one, so you're like always kind of like fresh. Throne of the Tides is very different than a Taldazar, which is very different than Galakrond's Fall. So we kind of feel like, I get to do this other thing now.
Yeah, the variety is there, and again, you have the easy ones, you have the hard ones. It's a very good mix, and you can like, even like with the gearing, some of the pieces of loot you get from those are really good for a lot of like different specs. So it's all in a good mix. In 10.2 they kind of nailed it, we feel, in the Mythic Plus season as well. Okay, it's keeping it very positive.
Yeah.
We can talk about a lot of the problems, of course, but again,
we did so many videos.
We have a lot of videos, you know, criticizing and feedbacking a lot of the stuff. But with all of those, we kind of look at 10.2 right now, like as 10.2.5 is getting ready to release, and we're probably gonna see somewhere in the spring, you know, the new season with the faded raids and all of that. So now I think it's a good time to just look back as we you know, continue doing our keys and our alts. And,
People are still thinking if they should come back now. Probably because they're hyped for the War Within, or maybe they're actually hyped for the Emerald Dream content that they might have been waiting for years. So yeah,
it's a great time to be back into World of Warcraft. We have to touch on something else as well, like, you know, with the more artsy side, the music and
you know that there's that meme going around the community that the art team is carrying WoW, and that was a meme, sure, and it's I mean, it's not really a meme when it's true, it's like always, consistently.
That team always does it like 110%. I cannot think of a patch where they did not deliver in terms of like the aesthetics, and of course, like, there's zones in the history of WoW, or patches in the history of WoW, where you didn't necessarily vibe with the theme of it. But that doesn't take away the amount of work and love that the art team has put into it. Well, in terms of
actual skill and creativeness, it's always been there. But now they also meld it up with actually really good like music. This is probably some of the best Dragonflight music. Dragonflight music was good and probably better in 10.0 than in 10.1. And it always has been this high fantasy, this uplifting orchestra, but now it has some edge to it. It has some like some ominous tunes to it, and it feels like, we're actually doing it. This is the final step. This is where we're getting the story done.
Yeah, it's good, and it's good also like when you get to like the last chapters of the story with it, when you see like everybody in the Emerald Dream, like all the leaders from the Alliance.
Finally,
and it's like that cool moment, and it's also, you know, amplified by the music that goes around. So I feel they're trying to get back slowly but surely to that, you know, element of a little bit more visceral, you know, a little bit more punch down in the face, you know, because we kind of missing
those big moments, like, it's finally happening, because we didn't get that. We definitely didn't get that with Sepulchre and the Jailer. We didn't really get that last patch with Aberrus. Like, nobody really cared. There were no real stakes with Sarkrat doing whatever. But now, whether you get into the lore or not, it feels like, this is the end game for Dragonflight.
Firak is a great villain, and I feel Iridikron was an even greater villain. It's like, I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen with Iridikron, but like the Firak replacement, so the little Sty story, like him going like off the rails and stuff, you know, the character of Firak is really, really cool. I didn't really care too much, but I definitely care more than Sarkrat. It's better
because they could have easily taken him into like, I was corrupted by the void power. Now
they could have went the easy, lazy.
He's just crazy, and that's cool because that's who he is. So he kept it real, and I felt it feels really, really nice.
This is like, overall 10.2 is indeed the best patch of Dragonflight. With like, I hope we covered everything that is good about 10.2, and definitely like answering a question for people like thinking of coming back or whatever. Maybe they got for the holidays, you know, a gift for the War Within, as you mentioned, or some subscription time for retail. It's definitely the best time to get into, because once again, all the pieces of the puzzles are in. And there's also the fact that you can catch up. Like, I think now you can like boost the character and have like 424 item level or something.
And it's actually meaningful. And we're not just saying that because, you know, we're doing content creation and all of that. Because if you ask us this question, in 10.1.5 or 10.1.7,
last summer, basically,
we might have been like, and we did, because that's kind of how it was. But now it feels really good. It feels like we're finally getting back. Wow, it's not all of it there, but it feels like we're definitely on the journey. We're passing the starting line, and it feels good to be back.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. And you can check this video out right now and see what 10.2 is all about. If you didn't know anything, or if you just like felt hyped up by us for some reason, just check it out. Everything is there, what you need to do, where you need to go, how to get started, everything. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.